ADvTECH was founded in 1978 and is the largest listed education and resourcing group in South Africa with a market cap of 2.4 billion rand. They own Crawford College and Trinity House schools. It traded on a price to earnings ratio of 15 and a dividend yield of 4.6%. Your thoughts on ADvTECH? Lots of
very
private
nice
schools.
little company, very nice little company, very solid performer. If you bought them like 7 or 8 years ago, you could have got them around 60 cents. So it's really been a solid operator. And under the management and leadership of Frank Thompson, the CEO, they've just gone on incrementally year after year, done quite a lot of acquisitions. So the core of the business is Crawford College and then Vega Schools and Trinity House. So they've targeted that sort of top end of the private education market. People who want to send their kids to a really good school with a solid academic base, but don't necessarily want to send them to St. John's or Bishop's. But who clearly don't want to send them to the state schools, which everybody worries about. So that's the niche, and I think there's plenty of demand there. But they've been quite conservative as they've rolled it out. They also now have this resourcing and placements unit, which is people that find jobs for skilled professionals, and they often take kids that have come through their educational institutions and find positions for them afterwards. So, I mean, it's got good growth potential and it has delivered well and it trades on a good dividend yield, solid little business. The question really is, where will they go from here and will they just continue to grow and whether you'd like to buy them at current levels?
Maybe I should pose that question to you, Jonathan. Where will they be going from here?
Well, I always like to take one step back. So what is ADvTECH? I mean, it's schools. I mean, you can model this business with a fairly high degree of certainty. They know what their intake is going to be within 1% or 2%. You can work out what their revenues are going to be within 1% or 2%. So very stable business, very decent business, very cash flow generative. So I like all of that. You like all of that. And when you look at a business like this, you probably pay a premium than what you would for, say, an average business on the market. So, and it's an ungeared balance sheet, and they're going to carry on ticking over. I mean, Frank Thompson, he is very conservative. I mean, he says he's running a school, and he's right. I mean, you can't go gear up schools and maybe the whole business goes under, and then you leave all these kids without a place to go to school. So he's going to continue running conservatively. So you'll get inflation-type revenue growth, and you'll get a 2 or 3 or 4% extra as they buy a school here and buy a school there and add them to the group.
Let's talk a bit on competition within this space. We've got Cura, which we'll talk on a little later, and then we've got ADvTECH. Is the space not a bit saturated?
I certainly don't think it's saturated. I mean, I know there's a new player in Cura, which I think ADvTECH's now doing a little bit more as a result of that. But I mean, the need for quality education in this country is massive. And I mean, if you look at the number of people who, you forego buying a car, forego buying a bigger house because you want to rather spend that money on your children's education.
I think so too. It's got plenty of expansion potential, but I think where they need to take the model is lower down in the market, because as state schools, particularly in townships, battle in this country, the more scope for inner city schools, but that has to be priced appropriately. There are lots of businesses like that that are just kind of leaping up in new townships and areas that are developing, plus people that come in from Zimbabwe, for example, with good educational qualifications want to set up as teachers. There's a regulation issue there because obviously there has to be some concern about standards and that kind of thing. But I think the opportunity is more in the lower middle market, but I think that trouble is that's not as easy. It's always easier to operate in high margins where you've got quality parent body that pays their bills and everybody's happy. So, I think there's plenty of scope and plenty of opportunity there. I don't know how government in this country is going to react to a burgeoning private education sector, because that's like an admission of failure to say, well, our schools are not working. And we know that there could be like a regulatory backlash where they say, oh, no, these guys are all fly-by-nights and now we must get in and close them down. So there could be some tensions there. But I think the scope for further expansion in a country with 50 million people with a defunct national education system is certainly there.
Looking at their resourcing business, we've touched on a lot of the school side of the business, but looking at that part of the business, is this a good place to be in at this stage?
I think so. I mean, that skills area, we're a skills-deprived economy. There is a bit of an issue about labour broking. I'm not sure the extent to which they're involved in the labour broking thing too. That's under pressure. I think that's fine, although it is a bit cyclical. With the economy, it goes and they do well or not so well, depending on the extent to which there's new hiring going on.
Hot or not, Paul, for you?
I do like it, and I think it's a solid performer. The share price has come back a little bit from the sort of 7 Rand level where it peaked, which was also the 5-year high. Quality management team, so I think it's a good one to add on the side of the portfolio now.
Quality management team are hot this side. Yourself, hot or not, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, I look at it and I think, well, earnings are going to grow between 9 and 12% a year. And you're going to get about a 3.5% dividend yield, so you're going to get kind of 14% a year. Now, you know, it's not something to get wild about, but I mean, it's certainly a solid performer. But we don't own it, so I'm going to say not hot, but I mean, it is certainly, it's very close. I'd rather have this than cash.